Welcome back to Captain of Industry Update 2. And with Update 2, we got a map editor. You can create your own map, you can import map made by others and tweak them. And frankly, I think this is one of the best map editor I've seen recently, especially given the complexity of this game, where if you don't know, there's a lot of terraforming involved and things like this. So today I want to do a bit of an overview of the functionalities / tutorial to help you make your first map. By the way, the dev have also released one video where they went through some of those features. I will put it in the video description below if you want to look at it after. First things first, let's look at the UI. So over here at the top, you have some key menus that will load on the left. You can see that all of these are being loaded on the left here. These are things that are typically going to impact the whole map. For example, the first one is loading a map. You can import or load a map, either a map that was created by yourself or already created by others. So for example, over here, this is one of the maps I've created. If I click on load it, it's gonna take a second. We're talking about quite some heavy workload over here, but here it is. A few seconds later, it's loading a map that I've created. You can also do the same again with map that already exists. For example, you may recognize this map over here. And pressing escape, you can also click on new map to get a completely fresh new map. So we have a new map, it's a fresh map, it's a bit small. So let me increase it to maybe a standard one. And instead of having it in the corner there, which you can, I want to put it in the middle. So I'm going to put, basically sort of 700, that's somewhat in the middle, right? Now that we have this, you can minimize or we can even close this, because now we're gonna work more with what's at the bottom. The most important features are over here in the middle. They're going to enable you to create different things like mountains, plateaus, dune, beaches, etc. Then over here we have sculpting, right? To smooth the region, flatten a region, those type of things. Then here we have actual mineable resources. Here we have the liquid resource, so groundwater and crude oil. Then we have plants, right? Different types of plants and forest. We have a special, which is the starting location. There is already one there, but you can put multiple. It's something pretty cool. You can put multiple and then let people choose which one they want. And then we have, more kind of individual trees and stones. And then lastly, something that's pretty cool is you can place sort of fake things like a farm to see how big what you're building is, right? Because everybody sort of knows how big a farm is, or similarly a trading dock, right? You can build a trading dock and see the coverage that you have. Now, I've just loaded the map that I created to show you this in a bit easier. So as I said, you can create some completely new things. Like I can create a new mountain over here, or I can create, a flat plateau. It's obviously a very different shape, right? I can create it again in a new place or also somewhere I already have an island, and obviously then it's going to compete together. Most of those shapes are going to start with a square like this. Now let me explain a bit what all of those things are. So basically what happens is you have your x-axis in red, your y-axis in blue, and you have your z-axis in green. So this is basically what's going to trigger everything. If I click on the red arrow, it's going to move in that X direction. If I click on the blue one, it's going to move in that Y direction. And if I move that green one, it's going to move in that Z direction, which, is over here, the height, right? So that's what's happening. And you can do it, in all four corners. But if you click on also this green ball, then you get a new point. And you can get, a lot of those points, right? So that's not a problem. If you right click on them, by the way, you also delete them. So you can really move well any of those points as you want. And you can also move the whole thing if you want. In particular, usually what you will want to do is move it up or down. You can do it with the middle one. Now, what you see in white is basically above ground. What you see, in transparent is below the ground. In this case, below the water. If I put it over here, it is below, the terrain that's already there. So that's what you're going to do, to place it a bit wherever you want. Then on the left side, you're going to get the menu that is linked to just this. It's not linked to the whole map, it's just linked to this, where you can change many things, right? Like what terrain do you want this to be in? how deep do you want it to be, right? Like, is it only 10 below the surface or is it 100 below the surface? And then when you look below the surface, is it inverted or not? So for example, if I put, this one as just 10, you're gonna see that it's sort of stays straight. Versus if I put 200 there, it's gonna really go down and spread. There's a lot of other options. We're not gonna go into detail right away, but you will definitely be able to do many things, like decide how steep those mountains are, etc. So this is, for all types of resources. You can see, for example, over here, I have some sand, right? Over here, I have some limestone. That's another one. So every time you want to put a new one, you just click on this or you click on these ones and you place it wherever you want on the map. Don't forget though to apply changes. Click on apply changes over there. Otherwise, it's not going to be visible. Now this one is visible, for example, right? For trees, it's slightly different, but you still again have, those corners. It's just that it's going to spread around this area. It's going to spread around usually multiple types of trees, but you can choose which one you want. So for example, if I don't want any maple trees, I can just delete this one and there will be no maple trees at all. Right, I can also decide the spacing and all those type of things. Then the liquid resources, groundwater and crude oil, are a bit different, right? They're easier in the sense that you only have the max radius. You decide, how small or big this thing is going to be, like this. Right, you decide how much resources there is and you decide where it is. Right, is it there? Is it here in the water, etc. Similarly for the water, you can see over here. So that one is slightly easier if you wish. Now it's a good way for me to also show you some of these over here. These are more to help you see what you've built. Is it exactly what you wanted or not? So for example, this one will show you the resource bars, right? How big they are, how deep they are. For example, over here, there is tons of gold, but it's mostly under the soil, right? Versus over here, there is a lot of iron, but it's above the soil because it's red versus here it's gray. And this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted the ore to be below the surface. So that's what I did. And here you can show the grid, which also shows you a bit how big it is. But remember how big it is. For me, the easiest is more to put farms like this. Then I see, okay, you have a bit of space, but not that much, those type of things. Then one that I really liked is this one, hide the ocean. It's going to show you also how deep the ocean is, right? Is it flat? Is it going down very quickly? Which you can change pretty easily with this one over here. Terrain feature, and then you check the one that's called ocean floor. If you don't see any, you can look over here and you have ocean floor, and then you can click on add feature. But if I click on it over here, I can see what is the minimum, what is the max, and how quickly does it goes down, right? So I can, for example, change to a max of 100 over here, and I want it to change very quickly, like, we're gonna put 20. So if I do this now, and then I apply the changes, we should see a big difference in my ocean floor. We're talking about quite a bit of computation, so it takes a second depending on your computer. Here it is, my ocean floor is being recreated live. So instead of being flat, right, now it is going down very quickly. So if you want to make bridges, it's gonna be a lot harder, right, especially over here. So that's a really cool one. Again, at the top over here, terrain features, and you look for the ocean floor one. And then the last one is the X-ray view. That is a really useful one, especially when you have multiple mountains and you're not sure what's happening. For example, here, I have both a copper mountain and an ore mountain, and I'm not really sure how they go together. Well, I can see, for example, over here, that at the top, there is a bit of copper, but as soon as you go below, this is actually only iron. This is because basically this was prioritized versus that one. So we can change this. For example, what I can say is I can put the ore as a priority of 10 versus this one, I want it a priority of 1. Now, of course, when you're creating your own map, please remember what type of resources are needed at the beginning of the game to not kind of basically create a soft lock where you can't do anything. So for example, in this case, my starting location is over here. So I want to make sure that I have the starting resource, like a bit of coal, a bit of iron, a bit of copper, some crude oil, and some trees. That's a bit what you need. You don't really need right away things like quartz or gold or limestone, which is why I've put them on the other island to sort of force me to go out and find them. Then the other thing you will have to do is to make sure that your starting location or starting locations are working. In this case, for example, you can see fail to build shipyard. It's not working. It could also sometimes show other errors. It is for two main reasons, if I may say so. The first one is remember that you need a bit of space, right? It's not just for your shipyard. There's also 2 blocks of houses that need to be built, so it takes a bit of space. So for example, if I had put a mountain over here, it would also be blocked. But in this case, we can clearly see that the ocean access is blocked. Now, obviously, it is indeed blocked on this side and on that side. And it is also blocked now because of this new mountain. We've put this mountain over here. It's basically blocking the ocean way. So my trucks, my ship cannot leave. Now, if I delete this one, all right, and apply the changes, that should hopefully fix the problem. And it is, now it's fixed. By the way, another important thing with the starting location is, remember I said that the red one is your x-axis, your blue one is your y-axis. Now in this case, obviously I want the shipyard to be built here, right? Because this is where the ocean access is. So that means this is basically minus x. So this is why over here in terms of direction, I've put minus x and not plus x. So make sure that you check this, but it's also a great feature to be able to choose, where you want actually the things to be built. And then you're probably at that point where you can start publishing. It may not be perfect yet, but at least that's also a good test. You can publish it, test it. It's not going to be publicly available. Don't worry. It's just publishing just means basically creating the map so that you can play it. So, it's going to ask you for a name and some description and things like this. You can also take a thumbnail, which is going, to take a picture of this without all of the icons. You can take some screenshots too, right? All of this will be part of the package that you can upload to. But the important thing is click over here on publish map. And by the way, if it is, not the first time you're trying to publish this map, you may want to either change the name or allow file overwrite. But yeah, you publish, you may get some errors. If you get some errors, you can click there to see them, or hopefully you don't get any error. Then you just, exit to the main menu, you start a new game, and you'll be able to see your map. Like over here, this is the map we are just looking at. This was another one I tested just before, right? You still have all the other, of course. And as I mentioned, by the way, there is potentially several starting locations. This is what you can see over here. In this case, for example, there are 3, right? Like, this is the okay, easy starting location. This is the insanely hard starting location. So that can be also a pretty cool mechanic if you want to. Now, again, to be clear, I didn't show everything that you can do. In every single menu like this one, you can go into those options and see so many different detailed options to make the perfect map as you want it. But hopefully everything I've showed you is enough for you to create the map of your dream. Please don't hesitate to put in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, or requests, in particular to help me make maybe an updated version of this tutorial in 1 month or so when I get a couple of different questions. I would really appreciate if you could take 1 second to smash the like button. And now if you want to see me actually playing on this custom map, click on the video that's appearing on the screen. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.